Hey, it's Ben Weiss from ZOAR Fitness, and this is the name game. Workout number 29 is inverted reality. From 0 to 10 minutes on the clock, it will be a 10-minute AMRAP of a 30 dumbbell hang clean and split jerk. That is alternating, and it is at 50 and 35 pounds respectively for males and females. Then it is 20 box jumps at 24 and 20 inches respectively, and 10 strict handstand push-ups. And then from 12 minutes to 17 minutes on that external clock is a max second handstand hold in a 4 foot by 4 foot box. And then your score is the total number of reps that you do plus the number of seconds that you hold that handstand as a single score. So let's go through movement standards. So the dumbbell hang clean and split jerk. Again, you have to alternate and you have to have your opposite foot go forward. So if I'm holding the dumbbell in my right hand, my left foot must go forward. And then when I do my opposite hands, once again, my opposite foot must go forward. So you have to alternate each time. So in other words, you have to also alternate which foot is going forward. So left hand, right foot forward, right hand, left foot forward. That's the way you have to split. But the big thing here is you have to recover your feet back together underneath you before you can lower that weight. So you have to hold that lockout the entire time until you bring the feet in together, and then you can lower the weight. If you try to bring the weight down before you bring your feet back together, that's a no rep. That's one of the things that people are gonna try to do in this workout. Make sure you're not rushing it. It's like standing up a box jump. People tend not to do that, which is obviously one of the standards. You have to lock out your hip at the top of the box jump. It's the same thing. This is another way that people are going to just sort of categorically want to sort of cheat this movement. Bring your feet back together before you do that. Besides that, you just have to bring it down to the hang. So in other words, rep 1 each time you start. So if you break this movement, you have to start, bring it up to like a deadlift, bring it up to your thigh, and then go into rep 1. Obviously. So if you get a no rep where you maybe don't bring your feet back together, or it's just awkward and you maybe forget and you do split the same way, you have to go back to that same side to make sure you hit that no rep first before you can move on. It's like missing a pistol, or if you missed on your right leg, you can't go to your left leg and do it. You have to do it again on your right leg. So these are alternating dumbbell hang clean and split jerks. I already talked about the box jump. You have to jump the box jump. You can't step it up. Obviously, you can step it down. That's always been a rule that's been allowed. The strict handstand push-up, there are 2 things that you need to hold to. 24 by 36 inch box. You have to keep your palms inside that box. So in other words, this is the line. You can have your fingers outside of that line, that 36 by 24 inch box, but you have to keep your palms inside of that line. And then there's a second one, which I'll probably also link to the description of this. I believe this is the 2020 open standard. I'll double check that, but I believe that's accurate, where you put your forearm against the wall, just like this. So this is the wall here. This is against the wall. I measure the distance from the wall to the very end of my knuckle. So for me, it is like 14.5 inches, for example. And then you measure your height. So you make a little, take a clipboard, put it over your head, or like a measuring stick so it's flat from the highest point. You mark that. You mark half the distance of this up there. So in other words, 14.5, 7.25 is above that line. So I mark my height plus 7.25. Then I put my tape line down. Make sure you put the bottom of your tape line. So like, in other words, if this is like your line, put your tape line here. Don't put your tape line up higher, so it makes it more challenging yourself. Put it below where it's right up against that. If that's confusing to you, those standards, then you might want to familiarize yourself with those standards, because that's probably actually the standard that you're going to see in the open if that comes out. So if that's something that you're not familiar with, go familiarize yourself with that, because it is way different. you're going to have to point your heels, so to speak, to get your heels over top of that line, because that's what you have to do. And remember, in rep 1, you have to kick up and get both heels over that line first before you can descend in your reps. So you can't just kick up and then go straight down into rep 1 and never get your heels over that line. You have to kick the heels up, have your heels over the line, and then you can descend into rep 1. And again, if you get a no rep for whatever reason, both heels have to again touch above that line. So if you kick up and you lock out, but you're not actually having your feet against the wall, that's a no rep. Like, you have to get your feet back against, or your heels back against the wall. So again, you gotta get above that tape line. Hold yourself to those standards. I highly recommend setting up your camera, or like your phone, for example, especially like in your warm-up sets, into filming your heels and to see if you get over the line. Things you can do, you can bring in your hands a little bit, you can get a little closer to the wall with your hands, you can shrug your shoulders up to get a little bit more height in that position, and then obviously you can really think about like pointing your heels, so to speak, and like pulling your toes back, and that'll help get the lip of your heel of your shoe over top of the line. Those are all things that will help. And then the static hold, lastly. So the static hold is measured, again, in seconds. So if you go over a minute, it would be like 70 seconds or 80 seconds, not like a minute 20, for example. It's from the moment when your hands are the only thing touching the floor to the moment that any other body part besides your hands touches the floor. That might be a weird way of saying handstand. However, I said it that way because, for example, I could imagine people would be doing like a tripod on their hands if it said you went from when your feet leave the floor, or they might be doing like a weird yoga type handstand where it's like elbows are on the ground. So hands on the ground, the only thing touching the ground. And then as soon as anything else touches the ground again, that's when your timer stops. The other thing with the static hold is you can do as many attempts in that window as you would like. So it's a 5-minute window from 12 to 17 that you can attempt those. You can do as many attempts as you want. Like, you could do, a couple dozen attempts if you wanted to. I wouldn't recommend doing that, but you could do that. Only your best attempt will count. So if you get 36 seconds and that was your best attempt, and all the other ones you got 20 and 18 and 11 and 3, then you get your best score, so 36. So that was the standards. I know it was a lot. Go back through if you need to listen to it again. Make sure you get it right. Equipment setup, the triangle. So again, put everything in close proximity. Your dumbbell, your box, and your handstand push-up space. So realistically, your handstand push-up space is a thing that's not gonna be like movable, essentially. Like, it's gonna be a spot on the wall. So make sure you take your dumbbell in your box relatively close to those two things, so you can have these short little transitions, put everything as close and smashed together as you possibly can while being safe, so that you can minimize transition time, maximize your transition speed. Besides that, I think the big thing here is going to be the bottleneck will be the strict handstand push-ups. So take most of your rest between your breaks of the handstand push-ups. For example, you're doing doubles in the strict handstand push-ups. Have most of your rest in this workout be between your sets of strict handstand push-ups. So maybe it's every 15 seconds, I'm gonna go back and hit another set of doubles on my strict handstand push-ups, and I'm going to rush the dumbbell, I'm going to rush the box jumps so that I get back to the strict handstand push-ups, because I know that's my bottleneck where I'm not gonna be able to, you can't try any harder just to get through more strict reps. Like, when it's gone, it's gone. So you have to be strategic about that. So you have to think about spreading out the density of those reps across the broadness of this workout as much as you possibly can. Besides that, I see a lot of people just getting sloppy no reps on split jerks just because they forget to split the right direction, because they don't bring their feet back together, just because like the movement starts to break down and just they lose focus as they get tired in the workout. Again, this is not only a new workout, but is something that is challenging to coordinate when you are tired, especially. So my piece of advice, and this is what I'm gonna probably prescribe to a lot of my one-on-one athletes, is that they do, hear me out, dozens, if not hundreds of reps of a weightless version of this hang clean and split jerk, where they're literally just standing there in their living room, practicing the movement, making sure that the right foot's going forward at the right time, making sure that they're not splitting too much, because there's no incentive for splitting deeper here. I have a pretty shallow split right? Kind of cheated a little bit in that sense, where it's not a super wide split jerk like you do like a barbell split jerk with a max. Split just a little bit, bring those feet back in quickly. Make sure you're staying locked out until you bring those feet back underneath you, and then bring your hand down. Again, no weight, just working like your hand, just making sure you're getting that motor pattern down so that it's ingrained and it can be thoughtless by the time you go to do that workout. Focus while you're doing the box jumps. Like, I don't want anybody this close to the open destroying their shin on a box because they're tired in the latter part of a workout. Again, it's only a 10-minute workout, so there's no reason to get that sloppy tired in this. Make sure that you're focused on the box jumps. And then lastly, again, don't take too frequent of attempts while you're doing the handstand hold. So really, if you're someone who is, able to hold it for at least a few seconds, there's no reason to do more than, 5 attempts in 5 minutes for sure. For people who can hold it longer than that, maybe it's 2 or 3 attempts across those 5 minutes, and that's it. Again, within 3 or 5 attempts, you should be able to get within 80% of your best, provided that you're, again, have some sort of tricep left by the end of this. The other big part of this is a lot of people have to hold their breath while they're upside down in a static handstand hold. So if you are holding your breath, it's really gonna limit the time that you can be upside down, especially after a really tough workout. And if you are able to breathe, that's gonna really increase the longevity of you being upside down. So definitely an interesting workout, definitely a different workout. And yeah, we're getting close, people. I'm excited for the open. Here we are. So best of luck on Inverted Reality. And if you're someone who is not signed up for Pro yet and wants to be part of the protocol and have that workout plan, feel free to head over to ZOARfitness.com/pro. Hope to see you there.